Few people know about this story. And Tesla himself talked about it. I once let it slip to my friend Mark Twain. Yes, they were great friends with the writer. And even then before the death of the latter. In 1910, when Twain was already 75 years old. At that time, Tesla was 54. Strange friendship. So, Mark Twain felt the end was approaching. And if you paid attention to the writer's work, in his stories God was not a good guy. And he often offended people. In his beliefs, Twain was more of a Gnostic. He did not deny the existence of God, but he criticized organized religion. It was especially brightly carried out on Christianity. You know, as they say, there are no atheists in a falling plane. It is easy to draw logical conclusions about God when you are young and full of strength. However, before you die, you willy-nilly begin to think about what awaits you on the other side of the Rainbow Bridge. It is not surprising that the friendly conversations between Twain and Tesla sometimes amounted to philosophical reflections on death, about God and the like. On one of these days, Tesla told his secret. First and last time in my life. There is no record of that event. Mark Twain Samuel Crimmins is already on his deathbed, communicating with the only surviving daughter, Clara. Told her about that conversation that was never recorded. How Tesla spoke to the devil. Tesla was an unusual person. From early childhood he was haunted by strange visions and unusual hallucinations. He slept only 2 hours a day and claimed that he saw all his inventions either in visions or in dreams. By the way, he had absolute memory, and once he saw something he remembered it forever. This happened in 1902. It should be noted that things were not going very well. Huge debts accumulated not only for the hotel room in which the inventor lived. The research required finances. Sometimes, secretly from everyone, he would board the train, Oak Cliff order, connect a high-frequency device to his head and pass a huge voltage through his brain. I passed 150,000 volts through my head. Tesla told this in an interview with the New York Times, after which he certainly fell into a lethargic sleep, a state of imaginary death. Such sleep lasted much longer than usual, was little studied by scientists, is characterized by a slowdown in metabolism, and differs from coma in that the body can support life on its own. On one of these days or nights, as you understand, time does not exist in a dream, Tesla wandered through the labyrinths of his mind, trying to put his thoughts in order, calming the emotions raging from failures and financial problems. And suddenly Tesla felt that someone was watching him closely. It was incredible that this happened within the confines of his consciousness. This has never happened before. It took Tesla some time to find an observer, because the mind still belonged to the scientist. He was his master, and was eventually able to track thoughts that did not belong to him. Devil, vision. If you imagine the devil as a terrible horned creature, you are mistaken. Probably, in the real world the devil had horns, but in the world of Tesla's vision he looked like a clot of light. Somewhat different in spectrum and density from the surrounding space. This light was also distinguished by the fact that Tesla could not recognize it and could not, as it were, think with it. The light was not part of the scientist, it was a completely separate, isolated being inside the scientist's head. Tesla became curious and decided to make contact. The alien light gave way, connecting with the scientist's thoughts. It was not like simple communication, when someone asks questions, and someone answers them, and this dialogue goes on and on. It was more like a shot in the head, when a significant amount of information instantly pours into your consciousness, as if a new neural connection is suddenly formed and you understand everything. It was comparable to an epiphany when everything becomes clear. So this light was the devil. One of the angels of God assigned to control earthly life. The devil was not the enemy of the Creator. This is incredibly stupid, because there is no one who could resist God. The devil was fulfilling the mission entrusted to him, work that had to be done far from the throne of the Creator. This weighed heavily on him, there was sadness, but at the same time a slight spark of interest in the one who was trying to comprehend God's plan, escaping from the body in such a bizarre manner. The devil is accustomed to the fact that such travelers end up in this place, possibly the astral plane, thanks to long meditations and pacification of their physical body, through long and grueling fasts. The devil studied Tesla, and the scientists studied the devil. It can be said that their minds have merged to some extent. Tesla felt power, saw what his inventions were capable of and what power they could give. He knew how it would change the world. He knew all the good that he could give to the world and all the evil that he could bring. And this horrified him. He retreated, the contact was broken, his body was struck by a convulsion and Tesla felt himself falling on something hard and woke up. He was panicked, his clothes were wet with sweat, and his heart was pounding. Possessing a photographic memory, he remembered everything that he experienced in a state of half-death. In his future life there would not be a day when he did not mentally return to that knowledge. You already know that Tesla could change the world. But he didn't do it. No atmospheric transmission of electricity, no death rays. Nothing that people could use as a weapon. Tesla destroyed all records. The devil tempted him with power, literally forcing him to experience the sweet sensation of power. Tesla resisted and was able to turn away in time. Now he is remembered as one of the greatest geniuses, not the greatest villain. Then, in that conversation between Twain and Tesla, the inventor told the writer everything that God exists, that the devil tempts, that after death there is no end. That not a single one of the people who once lived died, they are all here and now with us. Of course, this story is infinitely difficult to believe. I myself was shocked when I heard it for the first time, and then I remembered how I felt. I have no photographic memory, my memories are erased, incoherent fragments of visions are spinning in my head. I don't remember the world on the other side, and yet Tesla's story touched something inside. For me, what the inventor said is true. But who exactly is Tesla? Many suggest that Tesla most likely drew his knowledge from parallel worlds. Perhaps the devil told him the secrets of the Egyptian pyramids. The craziest thing you can believe about the great Egyptian pyramids is that they are oriented according to the starry sky. Well, think about the stars themselves, they are always moving and changing their position in the sky. Even that polar star itself managed to change its location in 4,000 or 6,000 years. That is, even the Earth's axis changes its position in space relative to even the most stable luminaries over time. Can we really imagine that the greatest developmental project of the past is so technically advanced that it was able to build those very pyramids with a certain accuracy? Make them star-oriented? Orion's belt? Well, of course not. The Great Pyramids of Giza are more like the center of some planetary network. After all, almost all known pyramids can be united by imaginary medians. It is obvious that all the pyramids on the surface of the Earth have some kind of relationship. These structures were built so that they interact with each other. Looking at the famous drawings of the pyramids, young Tesla came to the conclusion that the structure was a kind of generator. An installation capable of accumulating and transmitting energy. However, why does the genius have such interest in buildings that are about 6,000 years old? Usually curiosity, or maybe the devil himself told him this. In our time, a genius is an intellectually gifted person who has succeeded in some endeavor, and this is only partly true. We forget about the metaphysics of the process, highlighting the byproducts of genius. The main thing is the ability to communicate with the energy information field of the planet. In ancient Greece, geniuses were the guardian spirits of people and places of natural phenomena. Genii were responsible for shaping the environment in which they lived. Simply put, they shaped the world around them. These are energy informational entities that had the opportunity to interact with certain people, transmitting information to them. People considered this a miracle. Tesla was an unusual child, he had seizures similar to epileptic seizures. He himself said that he heard voices that were not there, that he observed hallucinations. He tried to fight this his entire adult life. And if not for such oddities, the scientist's greatest discoveries would not have happened. Tesla saw her first generator while still a student. Having experienced one of the attacks in the park where I was walking with a friend. Immediately after the attack, Tesla took a stick and sketched a drawing in the sand. This case is widely known. Was Tesla possessed? Another name for genius is daimons or demons. And if you Google it well, you will find information that the symbol of the demon genius is a snake. In Holy Scripture we read that the serpent who seduced Eve with the fruit of the tree of knowledge. After all, this story is not entirely about sin and expulsion from paradise. In the story of how people learn to obtain knowledge and take fruits from a tree using connections with geniuses. In fact, Eve became the first medium. If you want to get connected with the energy information field. If we recognize Tesla's genius, we must also recognize his connection with beings of the subtle plane. His human side suffered greatly. He never started a family, slept less than 2 hours a night and worked a lot. For what purpose, if he spent everything he earned on continuing his experiments? Like a man possessed, he changed the world around him. He arranged the space according to some kind of internal plan. In fact, he changed not only the United States of America, he changed the world. And there is hardly a single person willing to argue with this statement. What about the pyramids? There is a legend that he studies the drawings of the Great Pyramids. Tesla visited the discovery. In one of his visions, he saw that the pyramid was a giant mechanism. But there must be a ball at the top. And if energy accumulated in the pyramid, then it was generated by that very ball, which should have been located on the now empty site. This is how the Wardenclyffe Tower or Tesla Tower appeared. It was intended for transatlantic transmission of telecommunications signals. For communication and information transfer, as well as wireless energy transfer, which is essentially the same thing. Then there were experiments on transferring a huge amount of energy to Siberia, when everyone decided that a meteorite fell, later called Tunguska. In fact, at that moment Tesla was omnipotent. Having the ability to instantly and with impunity destroy any government on the planet, return countries and continents to the house. And yet something human remained in him. When he realized all the unprecedented power that had fallen into his hands, Tesla performed an incredible act of will. He abandoned this power by destroying all his work and drawings. The Great Pyramid is not just a stone, it is an artifact, an ancient civilization, in which the knowledge of the departed is stored. Pyramids are needed precisely in order to form the energy of the information field, accumulate and distribute knowledge. Such a statement proves the amazing paradox of learning in the human race. Let's take driving for example. Cars appeared not so long ago. Humanity became acquainted with them about 150 years ago. Before all the thousands of years of human history, there was nothing like self-propelled carts. The first drivers were trained hard. Psychological difficulties arose. It got to the point that 2 cars collided in one of the cities. And there were only 2 of them in the city. But look, the more people learned this art, the easier it was to learn with those who followed them. Same with reading, writing or programming, if you like. The more the mass of humanity learns a certain process, the easier it becomes for the rest. It is as if the big brain is establishing and consolidating its imaginative neural forces. Meanwhile, this is one of the functions of the energy of the Earth's information field. We either guess about others or, due to our lack of development, know nothing. Fortunately, we are only given knowledge that we are able to digest without killing ourselves. Which once again proves the wisdom of ancient architects.